Everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and welcome to another While You're Reforging. Now, if you have not been here for one of these with me, essentially every Friday I try to do a little bit of a live show and just kind of chat about the hobby, things that are going on with it, the news, and I always pick a topic of the week, and we just kind of discuss that. The idea here is to engage with y'all in a more live, real-time way, but at the same time also just talk about the hobby we love while y'all drag out your paints and paint along with me. So, I see the chat's working. I got Brian and Donald in there. Hey guys, thank you so much for the warm greetings here. Let me go ahead and get my chat all popped out. And so that's my little intro spiel. Do not hesitate if you'd like to go hop in the chat and ask a question or anything like that. Essentially, I have the show broken up into various topics. Things like, hobby, games played, news, and then whatever the main topic of the week is. And in between those topics, or those sections, I should say, I'll go ahead and answer any questions. That way we're not like bogged down with and hey, and hey, and hey, and doing all these shout outs mid-sentence, mid-thought. So I'm going to go ahead and let the chat fill up and let people kind of dribble in. Sorry. And we're going to talk about hobby. Now, my hobby is a little bit different for this week. Normally, I would pan the camera over to this sad section here, and if you can't see it, there's a small tumbleweed just kind of going corner to corner. And that's because, realistically, I didn't get much done this last week. I did some purchases, which I can talk about, but the truth is, if you have been following along on like my social media or really just the channel, basically I'm making a move cross-country, across the United States. I'm going from the Seattle area to Iowa to be nearer to family and just kind of, quite frankly, cost of living is so low that I can do this full-time. Well, last weekend we went and traveled there. It was exhausting, but it was a lot of fun. Saw some family, and were able to lock down a place. I got the studio all picked out. So yeah, it's exciting times, but it was also that kind of hobby where it's like, I'm sure you guys have done this too, where like you take some of your hobby time and you just dedicate it to, like, for example, cleaning up your hobby space, right? It's not like true hobby progress in the sense that you don't have anything painted afterwards, but you did something to improve your hobby, like in the future. So that's kind of how I view this. So it was a fantastic trip. Like I said, we have a little 3-bedroom condo at this point. We're going to move into our own house later on, but honestly, with 2020 being so crazy, we decided let's get an apartment first. We'll settle down in the area. We'll kind of get a sense of what real estate's like in Iowa, and then we'll make the big move to home ownership. So that's kind of where we are. So I hope that little update was good for y'all. So that was the bulk of my hobby time, was either planning that trip or literally just not being anywhere where I could do any kind of hobby. Beyond that, you're going to see here in a bit. Oh, one thing I did get in the mail from one of my viewers, local guys, and generally awesome person, Stephen H. You know who you are, friend. He actually sent me over the Battle of, let me get the name right, Pelennor Fields for Middle-earth battle strategy game. That's a mouthful. The Middle-earth game. And so I'm not going to worry about it too much right now in terms of like building and assembling and painting and that kind of stuff. I like the models quite a bit, actually. I think they actually have the right amount of detail when it comes to basic infantry and stuff like that, but they are super cool. I'm going to be cracking into that book and chatting about it here pretty soon. And yeah, I'm excited. So Middle-earth, got some stuff for it. It's a thing. Cody Griffin in the chat. Woot, Doug making the moves. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I love the Middle-earth game. Yeah, no, that's awesome. A lot of people do. Let's see. Rouse just got some Fire Slayers. That's it for my hobby progress. So I'm going to jump into the chat. If you have something you want to say or a comment or a question about those kinds of things, I know usually I kind of open it up to questions about how I painted something. If you have any questions about the move or the channel, I guess, since that's my only hobby progress, throw them in there. So, yeah, Fire Slayers are fantastic. I'm going to try to see if I can find a story to do this week. Did you receive the new Sons of Behemat book? No, I didn't. GW told me they were sending me one, but I have not received it yet. Honestly, Because I live in the Pacific Northwest, there's like a bubble where shipping just always gets delayed. I swear. So I typically don't get stuff like what I'm supposed to. You're supposed to get it before Saturday. Okay, so here's how it works. If you're curious about what it's like when GW sends you stuff, here's how it works. On Sunday, they have their pre-order thing, and they say, "Hey, everybody, next week the Gargant Sons of Behemat's going up on pre-order." Okay, cool. On Monday or Tuesday, I get an email that says, "Hey, we're going to send you this thing." There's no tracking information. There's no nothing. And so it's a little difficult to plan with. And then we're supposed to have it by at least that Friday so we can make some kind of review or content so that we can, have something ready to go by the time that we're allowed to talk about it. Our NDAs have a specific date. We're not allowed to talk about it till that Saturday. And then it's typical. But because of where I am, I don't typically get things until the following Monday. So that's all there is to it. So no, I don't have it. But it should be on the way. And when I do get it, I will be very excited to dive into it. So yeah. I'm curious about a few things with it, but we'll talk all about that because it's been a roller coaster of a week, apparently, regarding the Sons of Behemat. Every time I see SOB as the acronym, I know that Sisters of Battle is a real book, and they probably have the same problem, but I just think, son of a bit. So I don't know why it's the first thing that comes into my brain. Okay, we're gonna move into chatting about games played. Very simply, none, so we're going to skip that. And we're going to crack straight into the news. Let me pull up my news page. Here we are at the Warhammer community site. And as always, what I essentially do is just go through and... Oh, there's my chat. There we go. That's what I wanted. I essentially go through the news from the time since the last time I did the show and pick out articles that I think are interesting. And I put them in order of... pretty much how much they interest me. Oh, Rouse321, because we have missed you. Oh, thank you so much, buddy. That's so kind of you. Y'all are too good to me. So there are some cool things here, and we're gonna chat about these books, okay? The Space Marines and Codexes dropped. Space Marines and Necron Codexes dropped. I want to give you an interesting review because Games Workshop was kind enough to send me a few things. I think they're trying to get me into this game. And it's working, but not for these two factions. We'll get to that in a bit. And I want to compare them to this because there are some incredible things inside of the new version, I guess, 9th edition version of Codexes. So these are like the battle tomes for AOS. That I want translated into AOS. Like, there are some really, really cool things. And so we're going to have a quick discussion later on about the new codexes, but it's within the context of talking about how, like, what they can offer AOS. So, if you're not a fan of 40K, stick with it. There's still a lot of really cool design ideas and things like that on the horizon. But go back to the article here. Yep, you can pre-order all that stuff. That's all there was. I'm only bringing it up because I missed it. The next article, I just pulled this up because I found it so interesting. It's called Meta Watch, okay? And it seems to be a new thing that they are doing where they take someone who's super plugged in to the matched play scene. Specifically, I'm going to say tournament style like matched play where it's very competitive. And then you got personality. In this one, it's Nick Nanavati, who, if you don't know, is a phenomenal 40K player. He's won multiple... Oh, they got him listed right here. I didn't even see that. I know he won the LVO, but I didn't know about Adepticon, ATC, ETC. Dang. He's a good guy. He's good at this game. I know he does like a coaching service. Oh, yeah. Man, this whole little bio has everything here. Yeah, he does have a coaching service where he offers where it's like, if many folks want tabletop wargaming to become more kind of like esports type thing. I think T-Sports is the... Right? Tabletop. Yeah. T-Sports. I was trying to think of like if there was a different name we could call it. not M Sports, like for miniatures. T Sports wanted to be a thing, and part of that is, you know, having coaches, having a plan, having, you know, a knowledge base, that kind of thing. And so he's a cool guy, and he just kind of gives his thoughts on the match play setup right now. He's talking about how Space Marines are going to change things and that kind of stuff. Fantastic article if you're into match play stuff. I'm curious because it's really the first time I've seen like Games Workshop proper on the community page dive into like tournament stuff. Like they cover events to be like, you know, this is what happened at Nova, or things we saw we didn't expect at X event. But it's different when you pull someone who clearly understands the mechanics of the game on a different level, and is able to articulate them very well and coach people with them. Coaching is a very specific skill set, and bring their opinion in. So I think that's really cool. I don't know if I need to see it for AOS, but you know, it's cool. I'll take it. Yeah, I know that will be right up the alley of some folks. So Cody Griffin, Space Marines. Oh my gosh, yes, I play the video game Space Marines where it's just 3 hours of that. This is an interesting thing that I want brought over to AOS as well. It's an article or a section that's going to be in Future White Dwarfs. It's called Flashpoint, which essentially is they pick a campaign. So this is 40k related, but it more than easily translates to AOS. And it's stuff they've kind of hinted at here and there with AOS, but not really so much in the White Dwarf, where it's essentially a campaign system in the White Dwarf. It's minimal, you know, it's not huge, it's not vast and deep and whatever like that, but it gives you a setting, it gives you some combatants, some cool artwork and a map. I love the redacted stuff. Anything with redacted on it when it comes to 40k is just fun to me. But you have like campaign rules, theaters of war, which would be like Realmscape stuff for us in AOS, and I just think it's cool, like to slip in, you know, the settings for their games are so huge and so vast. Like, you know, the Mortal Realms is near infinite, obviously. Real life galaxy that 40k takes place in is darn near infinite. And so rather than having a timeline or, you know, picking out a specific battle, because in the grandest of schemes, one specific battle does not matter at all, with the exception of, you know, attacking Earth and wiping that out. If that were to happen, that's a big deal. But truth is, like, those things don't matter. And so picking a campaign or a front or a small subsection of a galaxy to focus on, just like we would pick, you know, the Bloodwind Spoil is kind of like the zoomed in part of what we're focusing on for Warcry or something like that. I think it goes a long way. So I'm glad that they're getting into that when it comes to 40k, and I want to see more of it. Let's see. Also, for the 9th edition 40k book has some amazing art, and the rules are far superior. Oh, we'll get to that, my friend. Watching Positive Doug feels good after this week. Buddy, I got a story to tell you. So, here we go. Oh, I actually have this article twice. Did not mean to do that. So, we're talking Gargants. Now, there's been a lot of chatter. Part of it came from me. I dug my own grave this last week by engaging online, of course, you know, because I'm a glutton for punishment. So, like I said, I don't have the book. I can't answer any questions. I'm sorry. I usually get it on the Monday following the actual pre-order, just because of where I am. I'm hoping that does change when I get to Iowa. I know that their shipping center is in Tennessee, so I should be significantly closer. But when it comes to this book specifically, the way that I hear Sons of Behemat as a faction is that it is essentially going to be the fantasy version of the Imperial Knights for 40k, where you have somewhere between 4 to 8 models, depending on how bold you are. And you know, it's not about winning, it's about stomping. It's about just having your big G.I. Joe sized dude run forward and smash. And immediately there was a lot of pushback, both on the price of the model, which, full disclosure, Games Workshop, I believe, said they were sending me one. I don't know. Like, I never know what I'm going to get until it arrives. There's a lot of pushback on the price, and I have a solution to how I'm going to cover that, fair and honestly. But then there's also pushback on the rules. You know, they do the whole week leading up to a factions release, they do preview articles, and they give you little snippets here and there, and people make snap judgments and all this kind of stuff. Let's see. Sorry, 1 second. one very well-meaning comment got flagged for some reason. I don't know why. But so anyway, there's just a lot of negativity, a lot of we'll say snap judgments, that kind of stuff, and I got wrapped up in it. And so yesterday I took the day off of social media and news. I was like, my brain needs a dopamine break. So I just kind of stepped away, and you know what? I'm coming back to this with fresh eyes. I love this. Like, Knights, my buddy Ben, who lives locally, he knows that I have this soft spot for Knights. Like, I wanted to do a Chaos Knight army, I wanted to do a Imperial Knight army, all that kind of stuff. I've just wanted to do it all at some point. And this is something that's right up my alley, I think. So we'll see, depending on how the book goes. Think about it. Like I said, I'm not making any judgments until I see it all. How much are the Gargants slated to be? I believe they're 194 in the US. Let me get you an exact number. Let's see. Sorry about this, everybody, but I do want to get this right. Available to order. No, wait. I want new releases, not available to order. Oh, it's still just Lumineth stuff on here. Yeah, I believe it's 195. It might. Oh, that's right, because it's not on pre-order yet. Yeah, that goes up this week. So yeah, they're pricey. I won't lie about it. Essentially, if you guys are curious, how I'm going to cover that, because there's so much contention about the price point and that kind of stuff. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to build and paint a Gargant the exact way that I want him to be, thematically. Probably not do a whole lot of conversions and that kind of stuff. Not really. I'm going to build him and paint him from start to finish, put a lot of work into him, and I'm going to clock that. I'm going to clock every second of that, and then play 2 games with him, and that will give me my $ per hour hobby enjoyment. Because if I say the price is not unreasonable, people are like, oh, well, you got one for free. You already were given 1/4 of an army. That's just dumb for you to say that. And if I say it's it's an unreal price, which might be the conclusion that I reach to, that it's just too expensive for what it brings to the table, both in your collection and literally on the table. It is what it is. But I want to know. And I want actual information. So that is my plan to kind of cover the price point. I'm going to clock it and then do, okay, how much of my hobby $ per hour of enjoyment did I get out of this? So that's kind of my idea. Because with the exception of Archaon, I can't think of another model that when the price point dropped, people were like, ugh, quite as outspoken. So anyway, so, it's one of those things. There's also some realistic stuff you have to keep in mind, like how many of these are you actually going to buy? That affects how much money they need to get back in terms of the molds and the sculpts and that kind of stuff. So anyway, we're going to couch the price point discussion. Like I said, I'm going to do a full review, clock every second of it, and we'll have the debate then. And at that point, you can just decide for yourself, right? Because if it comes out to be like, $15 an hour. Okay, well, I mean, that's something that you can decide if it's worth or not. And that's all there is to it. So, talking about the Sons of Gargant, I got these all mixed up, and I apologize. I think Artifacts was the most recent one, so we'll throw him back there. Yeah, he is an amazing looking model. For mine, I want to do tattoos, and I do want to get a second one at least. So I want to have a Gork tattooed one and a Mork tattooed one. And I tried to do that with my Bone Splitters and stuff, but they're so small that it became difficult. Whereas with these, their bodies are going to be a large canvas essentially, so I can do the tattoos that I want to do. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. We'll scroll down. As far as which one I want to build, just based on appearances, I like this guy. I don't know anything about their names. This guy up front with the horns coming out of his back. And then this guy here, I think will fit super well into my Nurgle army. So, yeah, that's kind of my idea. And I guess they're reboxing the traditional Gargants as like 2 in 1, which is exactly what they did with the Knights. So in the Imperial Knights for 40k, you have your big stompy robot Knights, but then you also have this smaller one called like the Armigers. Yeah, so that's functionally what they're going to be doing. And got a cool book. That is a super pretty picture. I've been doing some Bob Ross painting like stuff on my porch, just like literal Bob Ross painting, like learning how to paint like the backgrounds and the skies and the clouds. And I'm like, this is so baller. The Gork face in the cloud up there. I don't know. I love that stuff. I'm a sucker for it. And you come with all your cards and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I don't have much more to add on that other than they are releasing the Ether War heroes separately. This is the one that I was talking about yesterday. It was just yesterday. My goodness. I released a video on Efrix. So Efrix was the Chaos Sorcerer in the first wave before the Tzeentch book ever dropped, and I was like, oh, this model just looks like Efrix, with the exception of he had 3 eyes. This one looks like 5. Yeah, no, this model's killer. I love it so much. And then they're releasing the 40k stuff they've been previewing for a while, all the stuff that's from the box sets separately. I saw the Space Marine action figure in person the other day, or the unpainted one. It's very cool. I have no intention to buy it, but it's cool if you like it. And then there's like a pony and this guy serving drinks. I like it. I don't know what they bring to the Middle Earth game other than he illuminates things and this guy, I don't know, serves pie to your soldiers. That's all I got. But yeah, so we'll skip past that. And we're going to chat about more of the Sons of Behemat. Now they do have, I'm curious as to how many actual bits come in this, but I love all the different emblems. Like that's the Iron Golem's shield. I have a Dwarven or Dwarden thing. I don't know. Let's see. I forgot Finecast was the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and they showed off the evolution of the giants. I remember this guy. That when I came into the game, this was the dude. And then shortly after, they made the shorter guy that we know now. And they're just showing off some of the cool little bits and details. And they got the sprues. Now, I mentioned before, just 2 seconds ago, I wonder how many bits are going to come with it. And these are helpful for that, but I mean, like, how many bits do you have extra if you build one of these kits? How many of them have to be used to, like, cover up, gaps or whatever? So I'm curious, is like, when you build this thing, how much will you actually have afterwards? This tentacle arm right there is amazing, and I'm going to use that for my deluge, my pirate Nurgle. So anyway, somehow, I don't know how, but somehow. And it talks about them on the table. And I won't recap these like in mega detail, but essentially they're just kind of going over some of the basic stats. You can't one punch them with the like the auto kill, Nagash spell, that kind of stuff. They still have Timber, which here's the only thing. If you're accusing me of always being a fanboy, I do think Timber should always happen instead of rolling off for it. Because if your Gargant goes down, he is going down. And that's about it. Yeah, so I don't talk much about gameplay, simply because we don't have the full picture yet. But then we have some cool artifacts. We have a cowl. We have, ooh, he's got a big old jaw. I like that. That's a cool looking necklace. I dig it. So anyway, we'll move on from that. But that's just something I wanted to chat about. Essentially, what I wanted to get at online was just be mindful of how you let people, myself included, shape your opinion of things that are coming out. So if you get excited about the aesthetic, for example, for Giants, and your week is inundated with people with microphones saying they're terrible, they're bad at this, they're bad at that, this is a terrible value, all those kinds of things. It's not, for me personally, the game is almost ancillary to this hobby for me. For me, it's about having a reason to engage with people, and then painting second, and then the game third. I don't care about the rules. I don't care. And I know every single time I get comments that are like, well, you'll say that now, but you won't when you lose on turn 2. Man, I've lost on turn 1. I've lost at list building. I've lost at deployment. I don't care. I just want to have fun with people and laugh and drink a beer because I lost so quickly. I consider that a win at an event. So I don't know how I can articulate that other than just saying, don't let someone snuff out your excitement. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, oh wow, that looks amazing. Yeah, they're expensive. We can have a discussion about value. Absolutely. Because it's so relative to each one of us. But to say that like, this is a dumb thing and we should be mad about it. Nah. Love what you love. Do what you do. And I'm just going to say, and again, I cannot stress this enough, myself included. If someone online does not add enjoyment and positivity to your life through the hobby, get rid of them. Unfollow, unsubscribe from me right now, because life's too short for that. You don't need that. So if you are the more competitive person and you're like, I'm tired of hearing this scrub talk about how the rules aren't that bad and how the price doesn't immediately make you want to vomit, that's okay. Go unsubscribe. Bye. Have a wonderful life. For everybody else, hi. Let's have a wonderful life. And that's all I want from folks. And so I got myself into a bit of a Twitter argument, which is why I don't like that platform, because I basically said that, and I did make the mistake of calling out. It's like, well, remember they said that OBR was broken, and that was on me. I shouldn't have done that, because someone like Rob from the Honest Wargamer thought that I was talking about him. I was actually talking about a conversation that I had earlier that day with somebody else, but there's no way to really articulate that. So I used a bad example, but my point was, now we're a couple months removed. Things have calmed down. Games can be fixed and adjusted. Points can be changed. FAQs can drop. But when someone has their first impressions of an army soured because someone online said that it was garbage or it's broken or you should feel bad for doing this for whatever reason on either end of the spectrum, that cannot be replaced, right? You can't FAQ someone's opinion or their excitement or something like that. So that's all I'm saying is find someone who makes you happy online, follow them, and if they stop making you happy, stop following them. That's how the internet works. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, beautiful thing. So we're going to move on from that. And I wanted to chat about these books here. Actually, I'm going to keep my light the way it was because that actually looks pretty good. So we're going to put these two small ones off to the side because we need context for those. I'm going to talk about something. Oh, Zosies, you're more than welcome. Absolutely. I'm going to talk about something. It is 40K, but like I said before, it's within the context, within the, we'll say the milieu of Age of Sigmar. I probably butchered that word. I have no idea. Anyway, there are some really cool things. I'm going to do a dedicated video about this and go into more detail. But I wanted to point out that with every new edition, every new wave of codexes or battle tomes, Games Workshop plays on strengths and weaknesses they learned from the other game. Okay? So, they dropped Age of Sigmar, the game, and there were obviously a lot of problems with the way it was released, but the actual core rule set had some real strength to it. And so a lot of those elements, not all, but a lot of them were translated into 40K 8th edition. And now 40K 8th edition has gone, and then they went over to AOS 2.0 and they kind of gave it a command point system like 40K had. And so that's a little back and forth. Now we're going back the other way where 40K took the first step and I want Age of Sigmar to follow suit. Okay, and so that's kind of the idea. So with that being said, a few things I just want to touch on really quickly. One, they cleaned up the lore a lot better. Let me see if I have an example here for you. Yeah. Here we go. So this is my 40k Demons book. It's the current one because it was made in the last edition. They haven't... These are the first two codexes. And I had mentioned before, I said it a few times, that there is a lore section in here. It accounts for a very small percentage of the book in terms of understanding the nature of demons. It does talk about the unit specifically, but it's very light on lore, very heavy on rules. And this feels like a rule book rather than... like the Maggotkin of Nurgle one I have down there is like an army book. It gets me excited to play Maggotkin of Nurgle. I get cool narrative leads from specific characters, all this kinds of stuff. So for the longest time I've been saying like battle tomes are just better in terms of getting you excited for an army. You know, if your painting motivation has run dry, I always suggest people stop and read the battle tome. For 40k, this did not help me get excited for demons. But with the new version of things that they're doing, specifically with the Space Marine one, as the one I read through in more detail, simply because I was kind of curious as like, okay, there's like 30 years of history that nerds can actually about. What does it actually say about Space Marines? And it walks you through the creation of one, how companies are formed, all the various chapters, they're called chapters, yeah, and that kind of stuff, obviously nodding to the ones that aren't in this book, like Blood Angels, Space Wolves, whatever. And so I found that to be the most succinct and easy read of understanding from no knowledge to competent knowledge of like what a Space Marine is. It's not in, you know, intense detail where it's like you're studying math homework or anything like that, but Jacob Foxley, thank you so much, man. Thank both of y'all. You're too good to me. You're too sweet. But I thought it did a fantastic job. There's wonderful art and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I'm just going to put this one to the side and do the Necron one because this book is so much smaller. It's way more wieldy. One of the things that I like about it, in addition to trimming the fat and getting to the core of what makes this army cool, they nailed it, okay? If all the codexes are like this, you're going to see a lot more people get excited about playing the game. And I mean that. Like, just literal excitement between fantastic art, nice, succinct storylines, where new players can walk away being like, I'm excited to learn more about this specific character, but I know enough about Necrons to be happy. The other thing they did, which I didn't realize that I wanted it until I saw it, okay? They got completely rid of the timelines. In that demon book I just showed, there is, just like in AOS, kind of the timeline thing. And in 40k, it's very loose. Like, they kind of go by millennia or something, you know, which is a amount of time that we struggle to fathom, basically. But so in the new ones, both these new ones, they got rid of the timeline, but instead they put in these war zone sections where it's like, rather than just kind of give you like a 3 to 4 sentence blurb about an event that happened, we're gonna take like 6 of those and make them cool as hell, right? And that's awesome. Where there's no timeline, but they're like, hey, this is a major campaign that the Necrons were a part of. Name of the planet, some basic information, kind of like if you were like a military captain and you were given like a dossier on this battlefront kind of a thing. This is exactly what you would look at, and they're scattered throughout the book, which I think is awesome. I don't know why I like that so much, that they're scattered instead of just being one, you know, massive bulk of like storytelling things, but they're really cool. It goes into the various dynasties. Each one of them has a short story. Like, there's a short story in the 40k one. It's right before I believe it was before the art section. No, okay, this one's placed a little different, but yeah, I mean, it's just literally that. It's an extract story bit. And of course it goes into the characters, all the different lore for them. You have your standard GW. Let me show you the coolest looking models that you'll never be able to paint yourself, kind of a thing. And then of course it goes into the rules. Now, one thing that was added to this was the rules for, let's see. Okay, I like this. So Combat Patrol is their smallest format in terms of, basically the smallest game you can play with match play rules, essentially. And they give you some specific rules for that. And I'm sorry, I'm just kind of halfway looking at the chat and making sure I'm not missing anything important. Battleforged rules, but there's a part that I wanted to get to. Where is it at? Oh, Crusade. There we go. So, Games Workshop was kind enough to send me this book. And I'm looking at this, and I know in my mind that Crusade is sort of like their version of Path to Glory. It wasn't in any of the older codexes, so my Demons one doesn't have it, but it is in these two. And what it is a much more refined version of Path to Glory that I am in love with. To the point where I went out yesterday and I may have bought an orc model because I wanted to try again with the orcs, specifically on Crusade. I'm not going to buy anything else until their Codex drops. But basically, if you've played the game Warcry, where you play the campaign system, where you have your big roster of units, you go to a battle an opponent, you pick specific ones. They don't have to be playing a campaign game, but it certainly helps with the balance and the theme of everything. And you play your games, and then you, totally divorced of anything from your opponent's doing, is you keep track of your units, how they get stronger, how they get weaker, that kind of stuff. It's that same system, I think, but tuned and tightened to the perfect degree, in my opinion, because I've watched several Crusade games now, both online, like through Tabletop Simulator, and two in person, where they're keeping track of all these things. And it's a little bit of bookkeeping, I will admit. There are some tools online now to help us with that, but the truth is, like, it's a cool idea, right? It just takes what Warcry was doing and ratchets it up, because now you have full units that are being affected by these abilities and that kind of stuff. Let's see. What I like about this is that every single army book is going to have ways that you can spend campaign currency, they call them requisition points, and able to do very flavorful things specifically for your faction. And that's something that I do think Path to Glory and AOS is missing, where it's, yes, you can buy more units and then you can upgrade some, but the truth is, like, there's no like overarching campaign thing. Whereas like in Warcry, you can dominate territories, which gives you access to new things. In this, requisition points can give you so let's just pick one. We'll pick one and take a look at it. It's probably going to be a really derpy one because that's just my luck. Cunning Advisors. Let's see. It allows you to buy a wizard at a higher rank. So basically, like, as your units gain experience, this allows you to buy like a really, really cunning advisor who's going to be with you, kind of helping your machinations. And I like that. It's a simple thing. It's just buying a unit that already exists, and he's upgraded instantly. Boom. So that kind of stuff. Because what Necron Lord would be complete without a villainous sidekick to mind everything he's doing? So I like this kind of stuff. They have a cool little, like, almost like, it's not a name generator. It's was it epithet? So it's your titles, yeah. Oppressor of the unworthy. I like that. I don't know. So the Crusade stuff sounds cool. I'm going to be doing a more in-depth coverage of it, because I do think it is honestly, it's the only way to play 40k that seems appealing to me. But it's not just appealing. It's like, oh, like that's like the reason for this entire hobby. So, I mean, I'll take that for what it is. And then you go into your units things, and then it turns back into a nice little codex. What I love is that they have the pictures here now on the side. And so, I don't know, it just looks cleaner. Games Workshop, whoever you have in charge of like doing your book layouts, give them a raise. I think she was on one of the podcasts at some point. She didn't seem super interested in 40k, but she's doing a great job. Anyway, so I just wanted to cover that as just talking about some things that I think are cool that could be coming down the pipeline for AOS. Now, it would require, like, if they came out with a full, like, a Path to Glory book, and then in the future started adding, like, revised Path to Glory things to battle tomes, I think it would require that level of change. There's just not enough information in the battle tomes that exist to make everything super fun and flavorful as they are in these codexes. So it is what it is, but I think it kind of gives us a glimpse into what campaign games and setups and that kind of stuff could be like in the future. So yeah, that new layout is just spot on. Yeah, I know, it looks so nice and clean. I was just comparing it to my Demons Codex, and like where, you know, they have different vibes. The Necrons and the Space Marines and the Demons, they all have very different like visual aesthetics. But I was like, it's just easier to find information, you know, and that's lore information and gameplay stuff. So, you know, that's how you know it's a win. Let's see. If I could just play a squad-based Necron game, I'd be in. Yeah, Kill Team. They're really good in Kill Team. Like, go check it out. It's like pretty cool. Let's see. And I think that was it for my news I wanted to cover. The other two books that I showed you these things, the mission books that came out. I'm going to do like a review on those. But honestly, one is just match play missions with some cool, you know, bolt-on rules and that kind of stuff. And the other one is the exact same thing for Crusade, which is the narrative, you know, kind of side of stuff. So I wanted to talk about, really briefly, the main topic I put for today. What did I even call it? Reconnecting with your hobby. So, like I said, this last week... Oh, sorry, I'm going to pause here before I jump into my main topic. Does anybody have any questions or concerns, that kind of thing, about the codexes, my thoughts on Path to Glory, that kind of stuff? I would love to hear it. Newcrons. Yep. Octumer. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Old Witch Doctor. The Demon Codex was great for getting hyped about the various Chaos Gods, not so much the demons themselves. I would agree with that, but even then, the Nurgle one, he only got, like, well, each of them, because they kind of got the same spread. It's really like 4 pages each, which on a book that size, I feel like they could have gotten more, but that's just my opinion. Let's see. I like math more than Space Marines. You know, it was actually funny. I was chatting with a buddy of mine, and I said, like, I've never really had much of an interest in playing Space Marines. It's like, but I do think the way that their lore was written out in that codex specifically, I was like, this is really cool. It was probably the most compelling I've ever found Space Marines to be. Still don't want them as an army, but it definitely did much better than all the lore that I read before. Let's see. Are those mission books A5 sized? Yes, they are quite tiny actually. So let's see. I'm gonna hold it up here for you. Try to pin it just right so you can kind of get a sense. Yep. So that's it compared to a codex. I think I got the edges pretty much lined up. So yeah, they do. I can't tell you it's exactly like A5, but yes, if you have a printer that can do that, pretty much what it is. You're a lot more focused on these lives than a lot of other folks do these scripted. Oh, you mean that I'm more focused and on point than some scripted stuff? You're a lot more focused on these lives than a lot. Pop Burnsy, can you rephrase that for me? I'm a little bit confused. So yeah, the point being, they seem pretty cool. the Space Marines side of things. Let's see. Okay, that's about all the comments I saw. Okay, we're gonna move into the main topic. So, yeah, like I said, this last week was it was an intense one for many folks online, because, you know, between nerd rage and real life still being the fact that we live in a pandemic world, or a world where it's harder to get games in and connect with people one-on-one, which I think would help kind of diffuse some of the frustration. I took yesterday, and I said this before very briefly, but I I got off of social media, I turned off the news, and I just did a day for myself at my wife's request. She was like, I'm excited that you're like, on the brink of working full time for yourself, like, but just take a day, And so I got up in the morning. I don't think I actually have a picture of it, but let's see if I can upload it because this makes me happy. What I was going to say was that I think I've missed all the nerd rage. That's okay. It was just about Gargants and their price point and what else were people mad about? Basically everything. Their price point, how good they were in the rules because we only saw like a fraction of the rules. It was a whole mess. Hope you're okay. No, I'm doing quite well. So I'm just trying to upload this picture because I want to show something that I did. I talked about in a recent video how it is important to do things that are just for you. For me, it was painting, and I did something else. So I took the day. I'm sorry, I'm a little scattered here because I'm not good at multitasking here. Let's see if I can get this picture up. I went on the porch and I painted this. I did a little Bob Ross painting. Oh, no, wait, that's a list. There it is. That's probably a better one where I snuck in and got the detail. So I don't know. I did a little Bob Ross painting for myself. I went outside and, I bought a model just for myself that wasn't for the channel. It wasn't for anything. It was 100% just to paint. It was actually the orc war boss on the trike, where he's like on a motorcycle, like full of murder and mayhem. Thought that was awesome. And what else did I do yesterday? I don't know. I just took the day off. Things got really, really heated, and I got a little obsessive on social media between political news and what's going on with the hobby, and trying to be a source of positivity for folks, to the point where I just started getting burnt out a little bit. So I took the day and I just enjoyed it. And friends, I thought about a few things while I was doing that. I started to think about my wife really wanted me to stop and think about why I love this hobby. Like, why did I fall in love with wargaming in general? Because I've actually had a lot of hobbies. I did RC cars, I did hobby robotics for a while, did a whole bunch of stuff, and it's like, well, this one stuck, so to speak. How come it did? Rekindling things that I loved about this hobby. And so I took a day, I did some painting stuff that was just for me, bought a model just for me, and then made a list of like, what are things that I love about this hobby that I don't do too much. One of them was reading short stories. Apparently there's like 50 Age of Sigmar short stories. I've only read like 4. So that's lame. So I'm too busy being the lore guy to read the lore. That's the kind of dumb I am. So I took a day and I read, now I can't remember the name of it. It was only like 26 pages or something like that on my Kindle. It was like a Fortress in Ghiran kind of a thing. So I took a moment. I did some reading for myself. I went out and bought the 40K core book because I wanted some context for the Crusade sections in these, and it seemed so interesting. And I got to hanging out with my local store manager, Matt, over at local GW, and we just did nerd talk that had nothing to do with 40K. We were talking about Breath of the Wild and just our favorite video games. He loves those kinds of games. For me, more of a Resident Evil guy. And I don't know. It was just an interesting thing of like when I stopped and took a break and stopped trying to be like a content creator and just kind of let myself be a hobbyist like for a day. I got more excited to do things, more excited to paint things, more excited to, I was coming up with topics for videos and I was writing them down, but not letting myself kind of get in a content creator mode of like, how would I record that? How would I word this? That kind of thing. So it's just kind of an interesting idea. And honestly, that's all I really have for a main topic is after a week of people complaining online, I don't know what your real world situation is, in terms of how the lockdown's treating you, Holidays are coming up. Holidays are stressful with family, even at the best of times. It's going to be a crazy one because you're going to have that crazy Uncle Ernie who's just like, it's all a conspiracy. You might as well inject yourself with the turkey baster, for a vaccine, all that kind of stuff. Just going to say, take a minute, enjoy your hobby just for yourself. I did, and it was incredible. Just turned everything off. I turned off everyone else's opinions about AOS, which is funny because that's actually how the channel started. It started because nobody was talking about something that I found enjoyable, so I did. So I started talking about it, and then it's just kind of blew up from there. But it's like, I kind of feel like I maybe lost track of why I enjoyed it in the first place. So I read a short story, bought a model for me, and then just spent the night painting, hanging out, doing nothing, wasting time, and I encourage that you do that as well. How do you know my Uncle Ernie? Yeah. Corbin says, implementing a Crusade set of rules to AOS would probably be an AOS 2.5 or 3.0. For sure, yeah, it will definitely will. There's some overhauls that need to happen, absolutely, but I think the desire to do it is there, and the format's already been... the groundwork's been laid between Warcry, 40k, and what they have in AOS so far, Path to Glory. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, that's pretty much all I had. I said reconnecting with your hobby. Take a minute and think about if you are a content creator, and that could be anything. That could be just you post pictures of what you like to do to Instagram, right? It is content. Just take a second and think to yourself, like, why did I start doing this? For me, it was cool stories, cool models, and cool people, right? Not in that order. It's actually kind of a reverse order. Cool people, cool story, cool models. Yeah. And so, I thought it was awesome. So Doug, when can we hang? Are you in the Midwest? Oh, we can hang anytime if you're talking digital. So anyway, that's all I had. I didn't have a major topic for this week. I really just wanted to check in because it is Friday, and I try to do my shows every Friday. Have a busy day today when it comes to running around, running errands and that kind of stuff, and just wanted to hang out with people. I actually wanted to talk about the stuff I'm excited about, potential Path to Glory things, because these books actually are really cool. I don't... in the back of it, in the back cover, is a code where you can get the digital variant of this guy. And that's pretty cool, but that's about all I got. So we can talk about that. Michigan. Oh yeah, we'll hang out, buddy. Yeah. So anyway, be kind to each other. Have a wonderful week. That's basically it. That's my show close. So what I'm going to do is, like I always do, open it up to questions and feedback. Y'all have been super positive in the comments. Thank you all so much. Let me know in the comments or in the chat there if you have any questions about the battle tomes, about I don't know, my day off. I didn't realize how much social media news and constant information was affecting me until I just disconnected for a day. That was kind of crazy. Let's see. So I'll go ahead and give it just a minute here, and I'll wax poetically to fill time. But if there are any more questions, I'm not. I keep meaning to join up. Oh, the Discord? Yeah, I'm going to be more active on there now. Now that I put my 2 weeks in at work, and it's kind of winding down quite a bit. I'm more of an advisory role, so I will be able to slowly switch over to being full-time here pretty soon. But of course, it's full-time with the asterisk that I'm preparing to move cross-country, so it doesn't feel like I'm full-time yet. So, yeah. How do you put music in your videos, like in these live shows? If you go to a channel, I will actually show you here. There is actually a channel called the Audio Library Plus. It is an official YouTube thing, and it is all copyright free. It's because they want you to make good videos so that they can make advertising money. And so all of these completely free copyright, and I just pick the Calm playlist and play it in the background. That is how I do. Question: if you could be a Necron, which Necron would you be? Well, that's a good question. Let's actually go down here. Kind of interested in Soulbound, but no idea how to start. I believe it just went up for pre-order. They actually have like a starter kit with like a built-in adventure. I can check that in just a hot second. Oh, you know what? I don't even know. Need to check this out. I would be a flayed one. I would be a flayed one because, hear me out. I get an army, I paint it up, I trade it off, right? I make a big decision, I trade it off. And then inevitably, like 7 months later, for just like a week, I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't got rid of that army. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a very fleeting thing. It's like, man, I may have made a mistake. Probably shouldn't got rid of that. And so the flayed ones were like, man, I don't want to be mortal. I don't want to be flesh and blood. I don't want to die. So I'll become a robot. And then the flayed one virus makes them go, actually, skin's not so bad. And they just cover themselves in it. That's me. Instant regret. Well, not instant. Not instant at all. But at some point, it grows on you. You're like, maybe the fleshy times weren't so bad. That sounds weird. That's a weird sentence. Let's see. Question, if you don't mind. I just moved and I'm setting up my hobby space. What do you think is the most important addition other than desk, paint, and chair? Light. Your light. Absolutely. Go find yourself a... sorry, I didn't realize I had pointed that lamp towards the camera. Yeah, having a good desk lamp that does like real lighting that you would see, like the UV lamps, or not UV, because you don't want to like hurt yourself, but those kinds of lamps that operate in that light threshold in terms of lumens and that kind of thing. That'll be really good because it'll be good for your eyes to help you kind of relax, but also it'll help you see color a lot better. So that's would be my next thing for you. Let's see. Been busy with 2 part-time jobs I just got recently, so I've had much time for social media recently, and being away from the hype and hot has been refreshing. Absolutely. Yep. Pretty much. Question, when it comes to short stories, do you have a favorite style? Mystery, action-oriented, thriller? My favorite one has been so far The Red Hours, which is kind of a mystery one. I guess mystery adventure. It was that novella that it came out with, I think in the first wave of novellas, where a Free Guild general was like sent to like a really crappy base, and it was like a Slanesh influence of some kind there, and he has to kind of figure that out. But like, you know, there's like maybe 6 characters, and they all kind of die over time. But yeah, no, I found it super interesting. I really, really did enjoy it. So yeah, I guess probably the mystery adventure ones. Let's see. Skin's not so bad. Actually, Skin's not that bad. I promise those you and I are different people. Nah, I don't buy it. I think you're just sitting there and like you have a wig next to you and you just put the wig on and just type in a different voice, you know. Actually, Skin's not so bad. That's my women voice because that's all I can do. That's as high as it gets. So anyway, friends, I am gonna go ahead and sign off. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been wonderful. Thank you for the hobby positivity, not hobby positive, just positivity in general. It has meant a lot to me. And we'll get back. We'll have a full week of cool content coming to you, talking about both Warcry, Age of Sigmar, a little bit of 40k. Like I said, I'm going to do a dedicated video about codexes and how they've changed and things that I want to see brought into AOS. So look forward to those because there's more than I covered. And thank you all so much, and have yourselves a wonderful Friday, and happy wargaming.